If I sent you a direct link to this video, that means at some point we've crossed paths or we've met. Maybe we work together. I'm hoping you can help me blow this up. Not literally blow it up, but, make it bigger. Who am I? Well, let's just say I'm your typical American kid. If typical means growing up insecure, stuttering through sentences, dodging a critical mom, and watching dad hide in the shadows. High school kicked me out 2 weeks early for leaving campus with my girlfriend. One of these girls is her. And the closest I got to college was throwing a touchdown pass to my buddy in the 5th grade. I was lucky to spend a lot of time with my grandparents. They were great. Learned to use my words to navigate life, just like Grandpa said. Make friends, make money. I experimented, took things apart. Guess I learned the old-fashioned way by just making mistakes. Hey! I've sold wine to grocery stores, driven heavy equipment, caddied on the PGA Tour, was in a band, even went to LA in my early 20s to give acting a shot. Pretty sure I can fly anything with wings. Worked in sales most of my life, got recruited to Wall Street, and one day I even rang the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange. It's been a crazy ride. Married for 18 years, married for 18 months, divorced twice, and both of the women are in this picture. And I'll guarantee you, divorce during the Trump years was not fun. Lawfare sucks. But thank goodness I had a woman come to my rescue. And she's in this picture. Maybe it's just me, but I truly believe that humans can accomplish anything if they just try without the fear of failing. Most people stop before they even start. If you believe in leading by example, doing what's right by standing up for those who need the help, but most importantly, if you feel like you have the skills to spot a fraud, then this might be for you. This is a place where action speaks louder than words, where leadership isn't about titles or education. It's about showing up, execution, and understanding that no matter how experienced you are, you always have something to learn. Life's challenges only postpone your dreams. They don't erase them. Welcome to the Ackerman Alliance. If you're a current or retired financial advisor, financial consultant, registered investment advisor, or old industry wholesaler, look me up. Join the show. It's as easy as clicking a link. There's bold wholesalers and there's old wholesalers, but there's no bold old wholesalers.
This is not a solicitation for business, nor is it an offer for investments. If you are a seasoned investment professional with a passion for aviation, golf, and excellence, we need to talk. Know someone who fits? Feel free to pass it along.
Welcome to the Ackerman Alliance Daily Show, your daily dose of things you need to know, and probably some things you don't. And hello, world of nobody. Last night's show, did it about 7:30, started to get a few people. Obviously, trying the 2 o'clock hour is not peak traffic time for broadcasting. But some of you are going to find this, and some of you are going to help me grow this. Because I probably have one of the single most passionate reasons for wanting to get this going and start some dialogue and just get things back on track. We are in a very, very trying time right now. Extremely difficult period. There is some stuff being reported online. I just don't understand why people can't just post things that are real. Don't post protests that, there's violence starting and try to get people worked up like it's turning into a civil war. That's not cool. Let's just not do that. Let's just report on things, post things that are real, tell the truth, and look out for your neighbors, look out for your friends, look out for your family. Because it's going to be a difficult road. There's no question. I can't believe how much the rhetoric is ramping up. The rhetoric of Hitler, Nazi, dictatorship. It's it's hard to process. I mean, there have been so many things over the past really 6 or 7 years that have made me go, and I'm a pretty I'm a logic driven person. I look, if the square peg fits in the square hole, it just makes sense. That's a logic-based decision. I'm not going to try to jam the round peg in the square hole or the square peg in the round hole. I've always been that way. I don't know, maybe I'm on the spectrum in some weird slice. I'm not sure. But we just don't seem to be using common sense and logic. If you've been attacked, if you've had lawfare used against you, if you've had people that you've known for your entire life just suddenly turn their back on you and stop talking to you, that's a problem. That means there's no dialogue. And when there's no dialogue, when there's no discussion, when all it is slander and name calling and toxicity, this is where we arrive. This is what happens. And I wasn't prepared for, I kind of figured that the whole Doge program and government efficiency, I figured they'd find some things going on. I figured they would find something. But what's been found so far, just let it play out. Fighting it is only going to make, the reversal of situations now is staggering. The behavior of these people who for so long, now I don't know why this is. Well, maybe I know why, but condescension is one of my biggest pet peeves. I can't stand people that are condescending. It just drives me insane. It was the reason that is the single reason in 2015 that I made the determination I couldn't vote for Hillary Clinton, because she comes off condescending. And I have proven many a times over my life that typically people who project a condescending attitude are not good people. They're not up to good things. And, I spoke out. I tried to make, Trump's nomination. Would I have rather had a different person as Hillary's opponent in 2015? Sure. I've never really loved the guy. My father's a narcissistic white man. I know lots of narcissistic white guys. Narcissism is not a race-specific disorder. It's all races, all genders, all colors. Narcissism does not discriminate. Narcissism is a lack of confidence and an overabundance of ego. They meet in the middle, and it just creates toxic sludge. And if you've ever unmasked a narcissist, if you know what that means, when you unmask a narcissist, when you call them out for their BS, when you make them face their lacking of knowledge or understanding, it's not a very pleasant thing to go through. In fact, if you've ever tried to unmask a narcissist or hope that a narcissist is going to suddenly just flip and figure out that love and they'll change. They will never change. Ever, ever, ever. And I actually don't think that Trump is a narcissist, but you know, it's everybody's entitled to their opinion. I've been on the receiving end of an unmasking of a narcissist so many times that I can identify one just by having a friendly conversation with them. If you don't believe me, you are welcome to try me. I don't know if I can do it over video call as well as I can do it in person, but I can do it. I've been around a lot of them. I've worked with them. I've had business partners. A lot of people have exposed their true self over these last 6 years. And it was a trying period, incredibly difficult. You know, we're going on, I think this is episode 17. So we're almost at 3 weeks here of trying to get this show and this broadcasting and get this fired off. And we're going to do it. I am going to do this. This is going to fly. And I think once people really start to kind of figure out what it is I'm trying to accomplish here, other than just getting a streaming show and a following, I'm working on making things better. And right now you might laugh at that and say, whatever, streaming show making it better. I've been working on this for a long time. And I've got stories I need to tell. I've got truths that I need to get out. And this is the best place to do it for me now. After what I went through, it's all going to be just out in the open now. Because now if you disagree with my narrative, or if you disagree with something that I'm trying to paint the story, you're welcome to come on, have a conversation. I encourage healthy, forward-thinking, critical thought, having a discussion about facts, getting to the bottom of what's going on here. Right now, all I'm seeing is more accusation and more attempts at stirring up violence. I mean, I've seen 30 now, 25, 30 different people who have posted things online calling for the assassination of Trump and Elon. I mean, we're actually living in a time period where American citizens are actively begging for the elimination of a person who was voted into office with a popular vote. Call it a thin margin, call it whatever you want. But I am certainly not a racist. I am certainly not an idiot. I am certainly not clueless to people's behavior. I've been around toxic, narcissistic, gaslighting individuals my entire life. My parents were. My family was. I know what gaslighting looks like. I know what it feels like. I know how you are tricked into thinking that you can't believe your own eyes and your own ears, and that's what you're supposed to believe. It's a trauma that is ingrained in people like for years. And that's happening overtly right before our eyes right now. And we can either buy into it, or we can start saying, okay, something's off here. If this many people think that, would the richest man in the world really be trying to get at your personal information or get to something that could put money in his pocket? He doesn't want any money. All he wants is a safe, fair, morally just like opportunity to just exist and keep doing what he loves doing, just like all of us. We all just want it fair. I want you to think about this to yourself. I'm going to ask you a question. And again, I don't know if anybody's even in here watching this yet, but I want you to think this to yourself. Have you ever cheated to win? Whether it be a game or a bet or a race, have you ever done anything to cheat to win? If you have, did it make you feel good? Did it make you feel better? Did it make you feel bad? My entire life, I've never wanted to cheat to win anything. If I have to cheat, why am I even competing, or why am I even playing the game? If you can't win a fair fight with anybody, political debate, shouting match, whatever, if you can't win with a fair and equally balanced system of that everybody has access to, that everybody uses, if you can't win fairly, what is the point? Really? Is there a point? Now, maybe, no, maybe. There's no maybe. It's just cheating sucks. How long have the cards been stacked? How long have they been stacked against one group of people and not another? And are we really going to go back and say that, like, systemic racism is the problem? That white people have had this, like, undying privilege? Is that really where we're going to go? Reparations? I mean, all of the rhetoric over the past 4 or 5 years is now just like, it all makes sense. It all makes total sense. Reparations, race war. It's like, oh, it's a justification for the lawfare and the slander and the elimination of a lot of good people's lives, careers, jobs, whatever I'm sure there's millions. I don't think many people would have survived what happened to me over these last 4 or 5 years. I almost didn't survive it. I thought I was living in bizarro world. I'm dealing with it again. I'm dealing with it right now. I've been building and working and putting this whole thing together for almost a good solid 2 years now. And I'm right at the point where, I'm going live daily. Things are stacked, things are ready to go, and I'm being put in a horrible situation again where somebody broke their word. Has to do with a person who has a differing opinion than I have, and they're trying to eliminate it. They're trying to make all the time and the money I invested just be lost and gone. I don't think I'm going to let that happen. The difficult part, the difference I see between people who consider themselves a little bit more conservative, and this is just my observational opinion, people that I know who uphold, I guess, what would be a more conservative value, they're not good at, like, harming people. They have morals, they have character, they have honor. They do things that don't harm others. They choose to not harm others. They choose to help others. I've always been a people helper. I've always gone out of my way to help others. Whenever I see somebody in need or in need of help, or it's just who I am. And as of late, I had to learn the lesson the hard way in 2018, 19, where I helped some business partners close a business down and stick it out through a really difficult time period, which financially ruined me. But if I didn't do it, then everything would have fallen apart even more, and more people would have been affected by the actions that took place. So, but then after I did that, after I stepped up for everybody, and after I really gave, kind of everything I had, they all just turned their back on me and justified it by saying, oh, he's a Trump supporter. Not cool. Not cool. And it's going to be tough. It is going to be tough. I hope it doesn't get, these calls for violence have to stop. We cannot have more violence. I mean, what are we doing? A ground war in Europe, millions dead? 1 million people or more dead? For what? For what? To have a stronghold on a city that, Russia, Ukraine, that part of the world has been fighting over land in this part of the world for 1,000 or more years. Who are we to say that, we're going to just go eliminate Putin? I mean, it would probably hold more water if, and only if, there hasn't been so much lying. Massive amounts of lying. That's the problem. How do you trust somebody who just doesn't tell the truth? How have all these things in 2016 or 15 and 16, how do all the things that were covered up, the laptop, I mean, I'm not even going to go through them because you all know what they are. And there are still people who just call facts misinformation. The silencing of an entire political movement. Pure silencing. How is that right? How can that be fair? Now, there may be some people who get in trouble. There's some who probably should. Is it a crime to steal? Is it a crime to steal anymore? It doesn't seem like it's a crime to steal anymore, because it really seems to me like Maxine Waters is literally responsible for unleashing a wave of crime across the country back in 2020. Just violence all over cities across America, especially the liberal cities. I used to love Seattle. I used to love that city. I lived there for 5 years. It was a great city. So much fun. So much good music. I have so many good memories in Seattle. I won't even step foot in the city anymore. It's just, it's disgusting. How is that making ourselves better? How is that making ourselves, say we're a civilized society? The drug crisis, the opium or the opiate epidemic, which transitioned right into just, now it looks like that there's all sorts of people that are just basically colluding with the cartels. I hope that doesn't end up being the case, but are people getting a cut of the cartel drug money? Is that what's going on? We need to find out. If we ever want to live in a country that is safe and secure and protects our kids and wants to get back to a place where education is first, 40th place in education, but we spend the most on the kids, where's it gone? Has it all gone to indoctrination? If you heard my broadcast yesterday, or maybe it was the day before, I don't know, but I had 2 friends and neighbors that I treated as family. I took in and would have literally been there for them in, they don't have any kids. They don't have any, real family. I would have been that family for them. Like, that's how close I felt to these people. But they ended it by just kind of tossing me aside and making sure they stayed in contact with my minor son. I mean, like, what is that? Why? Why can't we let this audit of the federal government take place without violence? Is it because there's so many absolute fraudulent pipelines that will be exposed and too many people will have to be prosecuted? Because there's no point in having laws if we don't have to follow the laws, or if only some people have to follow the laws. And to listen to any more gaslighting from anybody about, it being conservatives or it being Republicans who are the problem, I'm sorry. That's just not the case. I now at least understand. Like, I finally come to the understanding of why so many people in my groups of friends, just people I've known for 30 plus years, I finally have figured out why nobody wants to talk to me. Like, nobody will, return a message. It's just like, we just pretend he doesn't exist anymore. I mean, maybe part of it is like, okay, this is what you got to do to all people who think differently than us. It's just like a big conspiracy RICO case with everybody. Like, you have to just shun them out, turn them away, make them think they got to think like us. And if they don't think like us, they don't get let back in the, in the crowd. Well, look, don't worry. If you're an old friend or somebody that we haven't spoken in a while, and the reason is because I was labeled a Trump supporter or a conservative or a domestic abuser, possibly through some accusations that went around, if that's the reason, well, we don't need to talk again. We don't. But I know you don't want to talk to me because you've got no answer for this. You've got no... We used to have debates all the time about, more conservative and, more liberal. Obviously, I'm getting a little bit more conservative the older I get. Happens to everybody. Happens with age. You like things the way they were. I mean, when my grandfather died, I remember him saying he wished that he lived in the 1800s. He wished he lived in the 19th century. I never understood that, but now I'm starting to kind of put those pieces together. He fought in World War II. Did we have to wait? Did we just wait until all of the World War II generation was gone before their estates were pillaged and fought for? And just the treachery of elder financial abuse everywhere? I almost don't even know of a person that was close to me who died in the last 4 or 5 years who wasn't just twisted up with elder financial abuse and people having wills changed and executors flip-flopped and, accusing other people, accusing people of things that they weren't doing, that you were doing. That's just sickening. I mean, I'm totally beside myself. I really am. To borrow a page out of my dad's old book, that was what he used to say. I'm just beside myself here. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Division is everywhere. And there's a little thing that I learned, and I learned this from being married to a woman who came from a pretty liberal family in the Bay Area. And what I learned is that they are a group of people that are willing to do whatever it takes to destroy a person if they know too much, if they've seen the mask off. If you've ever unmasked a narcissist, you will know exactly what I'm talking about.
Come on, feel the noise. Girls, rock your voice.
Trauma does a lot of things to a lot of people. I'm hoping, this is what I'm hoping, to kind of transition here. I'm not going to make this whole show, about just this. But trauma does crazy things to the brain. And it's my belief that animals, people, you name it, if you're put through a lot of trauma early in life, if you're not in a safe environment, if you're with, people who only focus on themselves, they're supposed to protect you, but they're, passed out on the kitchen floor or having huge parties when you're trying to go to bed as a little kid, or a dog from a puppy mill who never got to spend any time with its mother or drink milk. It just got to eat the shit from the other little puppies. I've had a puppy like that, by the way. It causes anxiety. It brings anxiety out and forward, and it's a lifelong struggle. And anytime, just be very wary. If you meet anybody, man, woman, dating, whatever, I'm done dating. Done. I've had my relationships, I've had my kids, and I've got a lot to do these next 20 years. I'm 50. Figure I got a good 15, maybe 20 years of working hard. So I don't have time for it anymore. It's sad. I wanted my kids to grow up in an environment that was better than mine, that where technology was connecting us, making things more efficient, better, more fun. But no, we screwed up. Gen X, we seriously screwed the kids up. I hope someday we figure out exactly what happened. I am not a religious person. I was raised in the Christian church. I was raised by a set of grandparents, or spent the most time with a set of grandparents not the most time, but I spent a lot of time because I lived closer to my dad's parents. But I was raised in that incredibly shameful, abusive, my way or the highway, narcissistic, stand on the Bible and justify everything environment. So my first choice when I got out of high school and, became a man and had my own place to live, and I went, okay, finally, now I don't have to go to church anymore. I don't have to be shamed. I don't have to memorize the Bible scriptures. I got nothing against it. I'm still a believer. I believe that, there was a man named Jesus, and the Bible is mostly history, not fiction. But I also just believe you're allowed to believe whatever you want. I've always felt that way. Believe whatever you want, do whatever you want. As long as it doesn't affect me, as long as my life does not get affected by your beliefs, then by all means, you can believe and do whatever you want. But as soon as you start impeding on my rights, on my freedoms that I hold dear, I always have, as soon as that starts affecting me, that's where I draw the line. That's where I just say, okay, nope, that's it. That's a whole different ballgame. And that's where we're at. I guess we're going to have to go through this exercise. Everybody is saying that we are overdue for another civil war. I didn't believe it. I certainly think that's a possibility. I don't know how it looks. It's Yeah, I don't know. But you know who can stop it, right? You know how this all just goes away. Is every American citizen who isn't an elected official or maybe even a bureaucrat, the bureaucratic arm of our operation has just gotten a little too entitled. And entitlement does weird things to people too. You give somebody something for free for too long, and it's just an expectation. And when somebody takes that away from you, it's crazy, isn't it? You know how all these people are acting. You've all seen it. Have you ever seen somebody lose something that they desperately didn't want to lose? I've seen people do some really weird stuff, knowing that they were about to be exposed or lose their slush fund or not get their inheritance, figure out somebody stole, I've seen it all. I've seen it all and then some. I've been all around the country, not all around the world yet, but I have been all around the country. I've met all sorts of people. I will put my networks of who and how many I've met over anybody. I got to travel for 15 years with an expense account, just making friends. So I've seen a lot of good people. I've met a lot of good people. And I've also met a lot of real pieces of shit. And I'm pretty darn good at telling the difference between the two. I really am. So I know why all the slander's taking place and all the name calling and all the criticism, because criticism kills. Criticism kills everything. Criticism kills innovation. Criticism kills love. Criticism kills happiness. It kills joy. It kills everything. Highly critical people, if you mix a highly critical person who really anybody who's highly critical, always nitpicking every little thing, really all that person is massively insecure and feels horribly about themselves. So they project that on other people by trying to push them down below them. It's a way of raising themselves up, looking like the smarter one or looking like the wise one. That's what critical people are. And then if you mix alcohol or drug addiction with a highly critical, toxic person, you've got nuclear toxic waste. Destroys families, it can destroy generations of people if it's not identified. And if you're around a critical person on a regular basis, you need to get away. It does eventually take your will to live away. Gaslighting, critical, just lying. It's traumatizing. I know. I spent 3 years running a business. And I'm going to tell this story, but because it's eye-opening. I spent 3 years running a business after working for the banks for, almost 15 years traveling. I spent 3 years building a company here locally. And all of my business partners and even some of the founding investors, all Democrats. I mean, my state is a blue state. I've been around Democrats. I've always considered myself an independent. Never felt like I was a Republican, never felt like I was a Democrat. So I just was like, I'm just going to pick whatever side I think has the abilities. When I see somebody speak and talk about what they're going to do, it's pretty easy for me to figure out who's competent and who's not. And I didn't think anything of it. The person I was going into business with had lots of businesses and had run businesses and was doing really well for himself, for a while. So he recruited a wealthy investor to come in, and we got this business off the ground. And every single person that came in to help us with the business that were from his circles, his groups, all they were trying to do was either take over the business or suck as much money out of it as they possibly could. We were required to use a bookkeeper. I was begging for help. We were using this state-run traceability system that had barcodes, and we had to barcode everything, and it had to communicate with servers, and we had to restick. I mean, it was the most confusing freaking thing ever. And I was complaining, like, look, I need some help. I need some sort of a bookkeeper who can come in here and help me get a grasp on this inventory. And they sent me somebody. And I said, okay. And I got him on the phone. I said, okay, here's how the inventory system works, blah, 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 blah. Didn't listen to a word I said. Not a word. Didn't even respond. Came down, met with us for about 30 minutes, grabbed a stack of bills that, we auto pay every month. Grabbed our stack of bills, said, I'll be taking care of these. Any other bills, just send them to our office. I said, what about the inventory? How are we going to get track? How are we going to do the inventory? And he just disappeared. Charged just $3,000 a month to pay 5 bills. That was it. And I said, why are we paying this guy? Why are we paying him? And you know what I was told? I was told just shut up, just keep doing what I'm doing. Nothing ever got accomplished. Nothing ever got fixed. That is where I went, oh shit. Nobody knows what they're doing. Not only do they not know what they're doing, is there even more dangerous when you don't know what you're doing and you pretend you know what you're doing? If you pretend you know what you're doing, all you're going to do is break stuff and screw it up. And you know what people who don't know what they're doing do when they screw up? Yep, you guessed it. They blame somebody else. Do you know anybody who blames somebody else for their own lacking or their own irresponsibility or their own? Oh, that's right. It's happening all over the country. And all we have to do, I said a few minutes ago, all we have to do is start talking to each other. Figure out what really is going on. Look a little deeper. Maybe you're a person who's getting free money. Maybe you're tied to some of this free, like Social Security payments to 150 plus year olds or 200-year-olds. Maybe you're some of those people. I don't know what to say. If you deserve that money, make your case. Why do you get free money? Why do people who came here illegally get free money? I needed free money. I had my house taken away. I had to sell my house because somebody was allowed to remove my mother as executor and take all the assets without anybody asking any questions. I could use some help. I gave up a lot of my security to help other people, but nobody ever had any reciprocity with that. I never got any help. Now, some of you might say, well, that was just, my own stupidity. Why would I do something like that? Why would I help somebody if, I have heard that a few times. Well, why did you help them? Because that's who I am. You can't eliminate your ability, or you can't eliminate your drive as an individual to be moral and decent to people. The situation I'm in right now, there's absolutely no way that I should be just like saying, okay, I'll be out of here in 8 days. Thanks for trying. No, I should be probably getting an attorney. I have discussed a few things with an attorney. I should be saying absolutely not. No freaking way. am I going to deal with your incompetence and allow it to affect everything that I've worked on the last 2 years because you assumed that you knew what was going on? That you don't think that I can see the games that are being played. I've called them out all along the way. I've documented everything. Now that's hard for me. One, I don't ever want to be someplace that I'm not wanted. If I'm not wanted, I'll move right along, as long as I have the opportunity to do so. But if you wrap me up in some big pile of slinging BS, and then you try to blame me for you wrapping me up in it, I'm going to call BS. I'm going to say no dice. No el diso criso. Not going to happen. So we got a long, long road ahead of us. The good news is they're moving fast. Let's just get this behind us. Let's get these audits out of the way. Let's upgrade these systems. Let's turn our federal government into a system that is worthy of calling itself the federal government of the most powerful nation in the world. We should not be running things like entitled teenagers who have access to the credit cards. My ex-wife, her sister, used a government-issued credit card to travel the country and cause me misery. Made sure that she filed document, and I mean, just the most horrible things ever. And you know how she did it? Like, look, I don't even really blame my ex. I don't. I still love her. I would still protect her. I wouldn't take her back. I would never do that. But I would still, like, I promised her mother before she died that I would make sure that she, you know, is loved and cared for. And I take that shit seriously. And yeah, she helped do a lot of things to me that were really horrible. Horrible. But I don't blame her. Because I did remember her trying to say at one time to her sister, like, no, I can't, like, I don't want to do this. She was forced to. The tactic used on her was, if you want to have any access to my estate, if you want me to leave you anything of mine, you're going to ruin this guy. And do you know why her sister wanted to ruin me? You want to know why? For our wedding. Her sister's one of these, like, oh, I traveled too much and I'm too important. I need you to do all these favors for me. It's our wedding, and her sister needs her, my wife, or future wife, to do all these chores so she could show up at the wedding and look like the hero who put all this stuff together for the wedding. And I sent her an email and I said, hey, can you do me a favor? Like, we can scan all these pictures in, but can you just handle the clipping and like the formatting? Like, I'll scan it all on one page. We got so much stuff to do. Steph, you know, she's under a lot of stress. And you know how she answered me? I hadn't even met her at this point. She answered me with, oh, I'm sorry you guys are busy. No, I'm going to need it done the right way. I just went, oh my God, really? So at the wedding in Las Vegas, my kids are there, my friends are there. I don't get to see anybody the entire 48 hours before the wedding because I am running around town picking up everything for everybody, making sure that, you know, my future wife, you know, she's never had a wedding. So I wanted to give her the wedding experience. And when her sister showed up, I was on my way for another hour drive across town and back. When she got out of the car, I was already like halfway to my car in a hurry. And I said, oh, hey, it's good to see you. I will catch you. I'll be back in a little bit. And I left and went and did that and greeted her officially for the first time when I got back. And you know what she said? She said, yeah, it was that time right there when I knew he was done with me. When he blew me off, that right there tells you exactly the kind of person that I was dealing with. And I hope she's caught up in this massive round of layoffs because she does not work. She makes $190,000 a year and sits home drinking 2 bottles of wine a night, just pushing forth her toxicity. Why should our tax dollars have to pay somebody's salary that does that? Give her salary to 3 people who need a job. We're going to be going through a lot of change these next 5-10 years, not just this kind of change. AI is making a big splash. It's going to take a lot. It's going to reset our economy. It's going to reset our economy, how things get done, how businesses get started, how I think it's going to affect lawyers in a massive way. I think it's going to affect medical professions. I think it's going to affect therapists. I hope, finally, I hope and pray that artificial intelligence might possess a few more therapists to get at the root of the problem. I have seen more therapists over the last 25 years of marriage and relationships who just do nothing but keep you coming to therapy. Every time we get close to talking about the issues, they skirt it. They divert it. They go over here. They talk about something else. They change the subject. They never actually get to the problem. Well, I think artificial intelligence is going to be able to take care of a lot of that. If I had access to ChatGPT when I was married, holy crap. Some of those arguments that lasted like 36 hours that you finally like pulled out. Oh, so this is what was bothering you? Like that was what was bothering you this whole time? We had 36 hours worth of like just twisted up, beat around the bush. Why didn't you just say that? Oh, I don't know. Well, I guess you figured it out. So good for you. How damaged are we? Are we that damaged? Are we that lacking in human connection and human emotion? I think so. I really do think so. And there's only one way. There's only one way to deal with that, and that is more connection, more finding what is common, and stop focusing on what the differences are. Have you ever known anybody who's gone to prison? I have. Actually, a guy who's going to be getting out here, I think this month. He's been in for the last, since 94. So what's that, 30 years? For a crime he didn't commit. Literally went to prison for defending himself in his own home. Railroaded by the police. Cop died. Cops screwed up. But back then, the cops didn't have badge cams, and the cops don't take responsibility when they don't have to. So he went to prison for a cop's mistake. Paid a hefty price. Huge. You know what I've been thinking about? He's getting out this month after 30 years. I'll bet he's going to want to go back in. He's not going to recognize. He went in 94. He's not going to recognize the world. He's not going to recognize people. Nobody talks to anybody anymore. I think I talked about it yesterday. You talk to somebody between the ages of like 15 and 25 maybe. 3 out of 5 of those people you talk to are just going to look at you and give you a look like the deer in headlights. Like, are you talking to me? Happens to me all the time. I'm like, my kids, my oldest, my 20-year-old does not even want to go out with me to the grocery store or in public. You know why? Because I talk to people. He doesn't like it when I talk to people. I've had to promise him that if he goes with me, if he hangs out with me for a few minutes, and this was a kid I did everything with, that we used to have conversations for hours. He's a talker. He was an extrovert. He could meet and say hi to anybody. Now he made me promise him that I would just stop talking. Wouldn't get anybody's attention. Would just keep my head down, blinders on. We could talk amongst each other, but we had to do it just like, inside voices really close to one another. That is so freaking sad. It's so sad. Like, that is where we're at socially. Think of how messed up we are for being this far behind. Like, we are so far behind. We are going to be fixing this. In fact, everything I'm building here, every concept that I developed with what I'm doing and why I'm doing it started with thinking about how I'm going to get my kids kind of programmed correctly. What can I do for work that's going to, kind of help them on the peripheral, that like give them opportunities to help. I still want them to do what they want to do, whatever that is. But if they have the same trouble that I had, they won't even know what they want to do for most of their life. Like, I never really knew what I wanted to do. It took me to go through 2 very difficult, horrible divorces, have many people turn their back on me, slanderous, toxic accusations be spread around so, everybody could justify why they don't talk to me anymore. I had to go through that before I really truly figured out what it was that I believe in, what I stand for, and what I want to do for the next 20 years. What is going to get me up in the morning? This gets me up in the morning. I get up at 4:30 every day. I start, I work on my trading skills from 6:30 a.m. to, about 10:30, 11 o'clock. Do all my research, and then do some side work in the afternoon to make extra money, usually construction. This place I'm working on here, massive construction project that I happen to know a lot about. Difficult jobs, difficult engineering jobs. It's what I've done, kind of my whole life. And I'm excited to get up. I mean, I'm putting in 15, 16-hour days, and I'm happy to do it because I finally feel like there's a reason. There's a reason that I was given the skills that I have and the knowledge that I have and the experience that I have and the relationships that I've had. I now have a reason to do what I'm doing. And it changes everything. I mean, it's hard. It's definitely hard. But they say you never truly figure out who you are until your back's up against the wall and you see the darkest of darkness in front of you. And I didn't figure out who I was until I got to that point. What can you figure out? So I'll get off that soapbox for a minute. What did happen to me today was I watched a video this morning. You know the guy from the movie Shazam? I swear, him and I are brothers. What I'm doing here, he just gave an interview and essentially talked about doing the same thing. I'll play it for you here, and you be the judge. Whoops. How's that going to work? Oops. No, that isn't it. Nope, that isn't it. Oh, come on. How's that going to work? Now I'm having these problems? I just fixed everything. Of course, this is the way it works. Of course. Okay, we've got slideshow. We've got that. Okay, let's go. There it is. Let's try that. Okay, there you go.
No, there are things that, can be destructive, but I have worked on myself so much that I can see those who are the traumatizers in my industry and be like, oh man, they're just lost. Mm-hmm. They're lost in that. And I want better for them. But simultaneously, I'm not going to sit around waiting for my industry to become somehow saved. I'm going to go, I've been very actively trying to build an independent movie studio, living community for people in my industry to be able to go create art and content and entertainment that is not being scrambled and infused with nonsense agenda. Just make great entertainment for the masses of all
the way Hollywood used to.
The way it used to be. And also simultaneously, if I'm going to go build a studio to go do that and accomplish that mission, well, let's go build a living community into it all so we can give people better lives, because we all deserve that too. And I think that there are people...
have to get out of California.
Well, I did. I went to Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in Austin, Texas. And
well, that's an interesting pivot point.
Anyway, what he just talked about doing right there, what he, literally the concept of building something that includes where he lives, property, land, where others can come and take part in being creative, being involved. It's almost identical. I actually wrote a screenplay, a couple of them in 2023. Wrote them in 6 weeks. Just flowed out of me. And because we need better TV, we need better movies, we need to get off of this toxic train of make everything look a certain way and sound a certain way and eliminate a certain person. And I have never in my life seen society so inclusive. This is the most divisive ever. And I thought, my God, racism ended with our generation. I've never known a racist person in my life. Well, I take that back. I did meet some guys in Alaska. They were at a fishing camp. It was 4:30 in the morning. They were dressed in camo. They had hats on that said things I can't repeat. It's not a red hat. But these two guys, one of them only spoke German. The other one spoke English with a German accent. Those guys were racist. True racism. And a few guys I ran into in Idaho when I was over there snowboarding in my teens. But those guys are there's extremists on every spectrum, every side. All we're listening to right now, what's happening around us, is we're hearing the loudest people, the loudest on the right and the loudest on the left. And until we decide as members of the community, of the neighborhood, in your family, until we decide that it's going to change, that we're going to put together a plan okay, this isn't working. This isn't working. Something's wrong. We need to come up with a solution. The solution isn't to eliminate Donald Trump. I mean, that was attempted. He did almost die by, a 1/16 of an inch, and may have been a higher power that helped save that one. You have to admit, it looks very much like that. But every single person that posts anything about violence, killing anybody in our government for any reason, either side, it has to be prosecuted. It has to be charged. They have to be processed. It has to go back to a law-abiding system. The laws that are on the books. I don't know why the entire Democratic Party just opened our borders, flew the doors open, and just said, send everybody. And a $56 million from FEMA to pay for hotels in New York for illegal immigrants that hasn't been going to the victims of the hurricane in North Carolina. Like, that is sickening. That is a sickening thing. I'm not even sure COVID was like, was COVID a plan? I don't know. I'm not going to say it. I haven't seen evidence. It's only what I believe. But we can do better than this, folks. We can do a lot freaking better. You know, I'm going to take it upon myself to bring a different level of understanding and education around finance. I've seen how big Wall Street works. I got let in the door and, you know, I don't have a college degree, but I was given an opportunity to work for some pretty large firms and learn the inside and out of the investment business. Managed products, open-ended mutual funds, closed-end funds, ETFs. Traveled the country working with people for years. I'm going to do my best to give people a better understanding of that. How you can empower yourself. There's a lot of financial advisors out there in the world, and there's a lot of them that do a great job. But there is just as many of them that really have no business doing what they do, just like any profession. And hopefully, if you follow this and you follow me, you'll learn how to identify that. I will hopefully help educate people on how to identify a narcissist, how to identify a person who has a nefarious agenda. Identify people who do not have your best interest in mind. I want to push people up. I want to help people succeed, just like Shazam said there. Shazam is like, you know, he wants to bring people to him. He needed to get out of Hollywood and get out of that toxic environment that was killing him. I feel like that's what we've all been stuck in. That's what I feel like my marriages were after looking back on like what happened and where we're at. So anyway, I'm going to take a little break here and let you guys watch a video that is about this rescue dog that I rescued a couple years ago. Well, I got to get you up to speed on her story, so watch this first.
You call me a dog, well that's fair enough, 'cause it ain't no use.
So during this process of raising these working dogs, what I've really started to realize is raising dogs is a lot like raising kids. Keep them busy, keep them with a routine, keep their minds active, keep them in a learning environment. And boy, just know this, raising these dogs, if you like a clean house all the time, if you like things picked up all the time, plan on losing your freaking mind. It's sort of on their time, on their terms for the first part of this. I mean, it's nuts.
Hey, let me in. 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 God, let me in. God, let me in. God.
Who can it be knocking at my door? Go away.
At first, I really tried to stick to Lester's routine. He was not getting as much exercise as he normally gets, so I would take her and him to the dog park to play Frisbee. And she wanted in bad. Anybody who's had siblings knows exactly what I mean. How does the middle child get a complex? How does the youngest child get a complex?
It's a competition from the get-go. Have that timeout place. We had a lot of timeouts in the early months. She would not behave, so she'd get locked in the cage. And here's one indication I had when I knew things were just getting out of hand for Lester. He literally would just sit on her. He wanted her turned off. This was Lester's way of turning her off. You might think the frame's actually frozen here. It's not. Lester's just sitting on her, wanting her to calm down. And just like kids, they take each other's stuff. They push each other's buttons. She would take his things, he would take her things. Just like kids, it was almost identical. The timeout, which was not a big part of my kids' upbringing, it's going to be a part of the dog's. This is how you start to let the puppy know it's not behaving properly. She didn't like timeouts, as you can see. You'll really start to develop an understanding of the dog's temperament. One day, I decided it was time to teach him how to make a fire. So, showed him how to make an inside fire with wet wood. Most of the time, most puppies I've had have been afraid of loud noises, have been afraid of chopping wood, have been afraid of the sound of a tractor. Not this girl. Chopping wood, she wanted to come over and jump right on board. Lester, on the other hand, was letting me know that it's not safe for her to be there. One minute he's protecting her, the next minute he's pouncing on top of her, just like a big brother does. You never really know if your dog is intelligent, a little bit slow, not developed properly. As these dogs get older, sometimes it's just hard to pick up on that. There are times when I go, my God, I've got the smartest dog in the world. And then there are times when you say, oh my God, how inbred is this dog? So you just have to pay attention to the little things. And the more intelligent, the tougher they can be, but also the better they'll be when they get a little bit older. It's important to pick up on how intelligent your dog is early on so you can then tailor your activities and your challenges in accordance. Lester had the ball, Rainey wanted it. She got him to drop it. So she pretends to walk around the back. Oh, look, I'm not paying attention to you, Lester. See right there? She's looking at the ball. Lester thinks she's around back, not interested in the ball. But is she really interested in the ball? Oh, she was interested in the ball. She tried to grab it, didn't win. And she hasn't won yet, but I think she will. So remember what I said about as many dogs as you can. So an old friend of mine from childhood, we used to play pee-wee football together and water ski. He's got an 11-year-old lab, big, mature, sweet lab, just like Fletcher, raising Lester. And as you can see here, she does not have boundaries yet. This is not how you treat somebody when you first meet them. We soon started the outdoor work training. Lester has a couple golf courses where he chases the geese off the course and I get a little free golf. So once I knew that she wasn't gonna run away and she would stick with Lester, we started going on little drives on the course. She was really making progress. She would spend more time with Frankie, the old mama dog, still a little bit on the, how do you put it? Demanding side. She wanted Frankie to play, so, but notice, look at where she's sitting. She's laying on her back, showing her stomach. She's absolutely submitting to Frankie. Now, Frankie has walloped her a couple times, which has been good for her. And she still tries to take the frisbee and still try to run the show any chance she gets. But in the end, she's just so freaking sweet, it kills me. I mean, how could you refuse that face?
Gotta love me. I'm the baby.
The story behind this dog. I show you this video now. Remember how I said, trauma can kind of determine your outlook, your the way you interpret everything around you. She had no boundaries. She was raised in an abandoned litter puppy mill. So she was born, she was the runt of the litter. All the other pups were all black and white. She was the only brown one, and she was the runt. So I think she got singled out from the litter. She didn't get to eat on a regular basis. So she'd been fighting since the day she was born to eat, to drink, to get anything. She attacks a shovel. If you touch the ground, like if you put a shovel on the ground and try to scoop up poop, she will attack it like she is a coyote going after a bunny rabbit. It is crazy. What happened with her and Lester? I had to move her on. Luckily, I wasn't supposed to have her. She was obtained by my oldest son and his girlfriend. Fell in love with her in a parking lot when we went on a trip together. They decided to buy her, and they watched her for about 48 hours, and then she was dumped on me. Now, I learned a valuable lesson because I learned how I trained my kids to just have me do everything for them. In fact, that's kind of how my whole family really treated me, because I would just do everything for everybody else. The reason I would do everything for everybody else is because nobody could complain. If I always did the most work and just handled most of the stuff, then nobody could complain, right? Well, no, that doesn't work. You just end up doing most of the work. So I ended up raising her. Lester and I, it was actually good. It was during, it was a year or so after I'd gotten back from California when I got stuck down there and got into a rear end accident, my third accident. I was in a dark place. We were still kind of deep into just recovering from what happened from COVID and everything. So they really got me out of the house 3 times a day, 3 times to the dog park, lots of runs, lots of this, lots of that. Well, Lester was always, able to dominate her and, put her in her place. But as the years went on, as she got a little bit older, pretty soon she kicked Lester out of the bedroom. Because Lester knows my older dog, my older McNabb, the one that is colored like a border collie, he's trained to find truffles. My ex and I used to manage truffle orchards, and he was our truffle dog, which, by the way, truffles are part of this project. Sneak peek. But eventually, because Lester was really trained by me to not cause any issues, because we would travel up and down the West Coast. We'd be at other people's houses, other people's farms, other people's locations. Lester just knew you just got along with other dogs. You didn't cause ruckus in the house. He's the smartest animal I have ever in my life had an experience with. Absolutely. So she figured out that she is going to be in charge now. She's going to kick him out of the bedroom. She wasn't going to let him come and see me anymore. So he started to basically kind of find his own way without me in it anymore. And he was really getting bummed out. Well, I finally convinced, I wasn't going to do that to him anymore. I finally convinced my son and my ex, their mother, to take the dog. I loved her to death. I did. If I had property right now, I would absolutely take her back and reintegrate her back in with Lester. But they took her. They've had her for a little over 6 months now. And every time her and Lester get together, it is just full-on competition. Full-on competition. Crazy competition. It's a constant battle. Why do I tell you this story? Well, this story has a lot to do with what we're all dealing with. This division, this difference in temperament, this difference in how people do things and see the world. We all have different backgrounds. We all come from different places. We all have different examples. We all have different role models and traits that we pick up from the people around us. And if you come from a traumatic environment, you too will have high anxiety. You'll have the ability to get really aggravated and fight for what you think is right. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing all of that right now. We're seeing all of our programming and behaviors. And I think there's a lot more people just repeating a narrative. You know, they've been told by so many people, including the mainstream media, that we're dealing with a Hitler and a Nazi and a fascist and all of this rhetoric. I think the majority of those people really have no idea what truly is going on, how it works. And I think they're just like repeating the narrative, fighting the good fight. And those people who aren't on those front lines, but the ones who were in kind of the more like, oh, geez, we were your Kennedy Democrats that, you know, we believe in the Democratic Party, the ones who were smart enough to identify that the Democratic Party like went through their whole like flip again. You know, you do got to remember that during the Civil War, the southern states, the rebels were not Republicans. The rebels were Democrats. So history has just been manipulated. Stories have been retold. And if we don't all get on the same page here really freaking soon, I'm afraid things are going to go to a violent place, and we can't let that happen. We cannot let that happen. That is a big reason why I am working so hard to get into the national conversation. To get, you know, I'm starting from scratch here. I'm starting from nothing. The only way I'm going to get there is if I get more people to share this channel, to share my content. I'm going to do it a little bit different, but we got to get more people to help me get my voice out there so I can start trying to resolve some of these conflicts. That's what I used to be really good at. I've had people try to recruit me into the conflict resolution industry, consulting for conflict resolution, mediation. I'm very good at getting people to talk things out and find the less aggressive path. So help me get this out, and we will definitely keep fighting for reuniting, finding reasons to be reunited, whether it be locally or nationally. I've got an idea for doing both. Everybody who joins the Ackerman Alliance doesn't cost anything. You can support us in a few different ways. You can simply just follow us, you know, on any of our platforms that we're broadcasting on. I try to do just about every one that, you know, this kind of content will fit with. You can become a client soon. We will be a full services, you know, financial services advisory platform that you know, we will manage retail investing. We will do retail investments soon. That won't be for a few more months, you know, maybe 6 months. But we will be in the business of high net worth and ultra high net worth accredited investments. We'll be doing some investment consulting, helping people identify their investment needs. You know, if you know, so if you're a high net worth investor and you know, or a family office and you need some help, kind of just interviewing your investment teams, I know a lot of them. I know hundreds of investment teams across the country. That was the business I was in. And this alliance's purpose is, by the end, you know, I'm hoping that a year after I started broadcasting, so, you know, I got like 11 months and a week before I get to that 1 year. I hope by that time,
this is really just kind of like a year-long process of finding the people that I want to be, I guess you could call it in business with, but aligned our beliefs, our morals, our values, our similar belief in being honorable, that we find 8 or 10 of us who want to make this thing go a little bigger. And that'll all become a lot more clear as time goes on. What this is really, truly about will become more clear as time goes on. I'll be doing all sorts of different stuff. We'll do a little bit of music. I think I'm going to do a little music later tonight, maybe do some acoustic guitar. This is all going to be about creative expression, conflict resolution, finding reasons for us to come together instead of being apart. And if you're a golfer, send this to any golfers you know. I promise you're going to like what that project consists of. And all of it will be just one big opportunity for content creation. And hopefully I will end up broadcasting and putting out there in the world what we're doing, how we're doing it. And if I get my way, everybody who takes part in this and participates is going to learn something, is going to feel a little better about themselves, is going to wake up a little brighter, wake up tomorrow morning feeling like the day is a little brighter. And I hope to make some people laugh. Might get into stand-up comedy. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But this is where I'm going to start. And I hope you'll join me. I need followers. I need to get... YouTube is still totally silencing me. They do not allow my content out. Now, if you saw or heard anything in this content, in this broadcast, stream, whatever you want to call it, if you see anything that justifies YouTube silencing me, please let me know. Get a hold of me in the comments. If you can go to my other videos, follow the Ackerman Alliance links, go to YouTube, look for the Ackerman Alliance, find my other videos, go through, comment on them, leave in the comments if you have any questions for me. I'm going to eventually have a room set up that you will be able to join the conversation. Think of it like, like X, where you go on and, there's rooms you can go in, there's a bunch of people, talking amongst one another. And then you can go to like a video, which is just a broadcast of one person. Mine's going to be a video just like this, but I'm going to have rooms where you can just click a link and drop right into the room, and then we can have a conversation online together. So get your camera set up, get your, if maybe you're a streamer, maybe you're maybe you're starting out and you want to increase the level of your voice. Everybody should be doing this. Don't let anybody tell you like, oh yeah, you're going to podcast, huh? Everybody's podcasting, blah, blah, blah. Anybody who gives you shit about doing something like this, taking a risk, putting yourself out there, anybody who gives you shit about putting yourself out there to try to do something bigger, you just look at them and say, I'm so sorry that you are like feeling so crappy about yourself that you have to put others down. I can help with that. Don't be condescending. I really try hard never to be condescending. I really try hard to just encourage people. And I'll tell you what, it's so odd these days that when you encourage somebody who doesn't expect it, it's amazing how quickly and how you can make somebody's day. You can absolutely make somebody's day. I'll find a person at the like the other day, there was this girl at the Jersey Mike's. I was ordering a sandwich. She was obviously being trained. She looked like she was just totally freaking having an anxiety attack, lots of people. And I just said, hey, you're doing an amazing job. Don't worry about it. These people, they'll be fine. you're kicking ass. And you could just see a light turn on inside, just like, thank you. Oh my God. Don't leave a tip. If you're going to leave a tip, give them a tip. Stay out of dark alleys. No, I'm just kidding. That was my mom's tip. Rest her soul. But a tip of just push somebody up. Don't push them down. The more people you push up, the better off they're going to be. They might go push somebody up. And if we stop all this negative horse shit, we might flip this thing around someday. You never know. Let's see what we got here. Jesus don't want me for sunbeam. Sunbeams are never made like me. Don't expect me to cry for all the reasons you had to die. Don't ever ask your love of me. Don't expect me to cry. Don't expect me to cry. Don't expect me to die for thee. Jesus didn't want me for sunbeam. Sunbeams are never made like me. Don't expect me to cry for all the reasons you had to die. Don't ever ask your love of me. Don't expect me to cry. Don't expect me to lie. Don't expect me to die for thee. Jesus didn't want me for a sunbeam. Sunbeams are never made like me. Don't expect me to cry for all the reasons you had to die. Don't ever ask your love of me. Don't expect me to cry. Don't expect me to lie. Don't expect me to die for thee.
If I sent you a direct link to this video, that means at some point we've crossed paths or we've met. Maybe we work together. I'm hoping you can help me blow this up. Not literally blow it up, but, make it bigger. Who am I? Well, let's just say I'm your typical American kid. If typical means growing up insecure, stuttering through sentences, dodging a critical mom, and watching dad hide in the shadows. High school kicked me out 2 weeks early for leaving campus with my girlfriend. One of these girls is her. And the closest I got to college was throwing a touchdown pass to my buddy in the 5th grade. I was lucky to spend a lot of time with my grandparents. They were great. Learned to use my words to navigate life, just like Grandpa said. Make friends, make money. I experimented, took things apart. Guess I learned the old-fashioned way by just making mistakes.
Hey!
I've sold wine to grocery stores, driven heavy equipment, caddied on the PGA Tour, was in a band, even went to LA in my early 20s to give acting a shot. Pretty sure I can fly anything with wings. Worked in sales most of my life, got recruited to Wall Street, and one day I even rang the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange. It's been a crazy ride. Married for 18 years, married for 18 months, divorced twice, and both of the women are in this picture. And I'll guarantee you divorce during the Trump years was not fun. Lawfare sucks. But thank goodness I had a woman come to my rescue. And she's in this picture. Maybe it's just me, but I truly believe that humans can accomplish anything if they just try without the fear of failing. Most people stop before they even start. If you believe in leading by example, doing what's right by standing up for those who need the help, but most importantly, if you feel like you have the skills to spot a fraud, then this might be for you. This is a place where action speaks louder than words, where leadership isn't about titles or education. It's about showing up, execution, and understanding that no matter how experienced you are, you always have something to learn. Life's challenges only postpone your dreams. They don't erase them. Welcome to the Ackerman Alliance. If you're a current or retired financial advisor, financial consultant, registered investment advisor, or old industry wholesaler, look me up. Join the show. It's as easy as clicking a link. There's bold wholesalers and there's old wholesalers, but there's no bold old wholesalers.
This is not a solicitation for business, nor is it an offer for investments. If you are a seasoned investment professional with a passion for aviation, golf, and excellence, we need to talk. Know someone who fits? Feel free to pass it along.
I'm eastbound, just watch no bandit run. I'm eastbound, just watch no bandit run.